This podcast is brought to you by Always Possible. alwayspossible.co.uk.
Welcome to One Young World Belfast. Please take your seats. The show is about to start.
Hello. Yes, this is episode 2 of our 3-part Possibility Club special, coming to you from the One Young World Summit 2023 in Belfast. Amidst a backdrop of Northern Ireland's evolving history of resilience, this episode delves into leadership, inspired by young changemakers from every corner of the world that we met at the beginning of October. We bring you insights from delegates, sponsors, keynote speeches and debates, focused on the bravery needed to address our biggest global and regional challenges. I'm Richard Freeman, and this is the Possibility Club at the biggest gathering on the planet of social entrepreneurs aged under 30, and we're focusing on leadership.
For anyone who is visually impaired in the audience, what up, first of all? As a visual description, I'll start by describing myself. I am a black African woman, 5'7" and some change. I'm wearing black flats. My hair is up in an interesting situation. And I've got on beaded earrings, Maasai earrings, and a black dress, which I call my power dress. I wear it when I need a bit of confidence. I wear it when I need a bit of confidence because right now I'm sweating in many places. My knees are like jelly and I really need to pee all of a sudden. But thank you for having me.
We're going to start with someone who has been a guest on the Possibility Club before, quite recently in fact. Crystal Asige is a remarkable musician, activist and politician who shares her journey of overcoming visual impairment and rising as a powerful advocate for people with disabilities, or PWDs, in Kenya. It is hard not to be slightly in awe of her resilience, determination and her pursuit of purpose.
I'm a fervent believer in making people feel seen and heard, no matter their ability or disability. If you find me on social media, it may look incredibly colorful. You'll see me in Parliament one day, in the studio the next, with politicians, the UK trade envoy to Kenya, then to a doctor's appointment in the evening. But in reality, all of who I am work harmoniously to fulfill my assignment, my purpose.
Crystal only found out that she had been successfully elected to the Kenyan Senate at the 2022 One Young World Summit, one of the youngest politicians ever to be seen in Kenya.
It was pretty wild. I came to One Young World as an ordinary Kenyan, but returned home as a senator. Now, I'm at the heart of Kenya's dynamic political landscape, navigating its twists and turns. I am one of the youngest parliamentarians, one of the top performing female senators, and also voted top 40 under 40 in Kenya. Hey! The platform on which I stand today has played an integral role in shaping me into the person that I've become. It has infused me with the confidence that is nothing short of transformative. It's given me a glimmer of hope and inspired people who are young watching me, not only in Kenya, but across the globe. Given me a voice that I've since used to champion the rights of PWDs, the youth and women in Kenya. It is truly remarkable what confidence mixed with hard work, good timing, and throwing in a dash of magic beans can achieve. Since the last summit, I've tirelessly worked towards making Kenya more inclusive and equitable. The laws that I am sponsoring now, such as the PWD Bill, the Kenya Sign Language Bill, the Learners with Disabilities Bill, the Startup Bill, the Public Participation Bill, and 4 major amendments to transportation laws to address increasing road crashes that are killing too many young people in Kenya today. I'm trying to pave a way for a more brighter and accessible Kenya for everyone today.
And at 35, she's now started her own foundation focused on inclusive leadership, and was back this year to embody the opportunity of the One Young World movement. And that is an important backbone to this summit, that every year people move along and come back, pay it forward, and get involved deeper. The conversations rely on people bringing back what they have learned since the last year. Many come along for the first time as a sponsored delegate or scholar, and they leave as fully fledged ambassadors. And then some, like Daniel Zapata Castro, keep returning as coordinating ambassadors, looking after social entrepreneurship on behalf of One Young World for a whole region or country.
I am Daniel Zapata Castro. I'm from Colombia. Became part of One Young World as a delegate in 2021, winning a scholarship from the national government of Colombia for my region, that is the coffee region in Colombia. From the last year, I became the coordinating ambassador for Colombia. So my new mission is to help to help the community there to stay connected, stay engaged, and help the new delegates. And that's why I'm here in this new summit, and I'm really happy because I really admire Belfast according to the peace topics specifically, so I'm really happy to be here.
The summit seems like it is a place to showcase and celebrate leadership. But the real work happens all year round, with ambassadors and coordinators acting within a global web of big ideas.
My mission as a coordinating ambassador, as my fellow coordinating in other regions, in other parts of the world, it's to keep them connected, inspired, motivated, to see the powerful of being in a community, because they are already doing amazing things and changing realities. But if we stay connected and make some stuff together, that impact could be huge. We know that when we are here in the summit, having all these amazing experiences, cultural exchange, everything is really nice. You are saying like, yeah, I'm part of One New World. But once that you return and you are in your daily stuff, you say like, okay, that's a WhatsApp group and I won't attend anymore, so I don't know why to stay there. So we create those opportunities to stay engaged, thinking in those different needs of experience that each ambassador have. Some of the most junior ones, could we say, they are looking for mentors, resources, for more inspiration and motivation. So they really stay in the virtual sessions. They are always in contact with us. So that's like the principal function. But we also can like be in the bridge between the community, the headquarters, and those old ambassadors who maybe have a different role and they have their company. They are not anymore entrepreneurs. They are really, really successful people, and they can become mentors of these new ambassadors. I think we are always reading our community, and the change that we are creating, it's to keep them as a strong community in the territory there. In my case, is for Colombia, and it's a real big challenge because we are a big country, very diverse. We have people from the principal cities, some other people from the smaller and really far away towns. Even sometimes they don't have good connection, good signal to virtual spaces. And I don't think that they feel that the community is just for those in the cities, right? Or the principal cities. So doing different activities, and we are like a permanent friend of everyone to be in the real bridge between the ambassadors and the ambassadors with the community.
Daniel is a high-profile and celebrated peace builder in Colombia. But I wanted to know how seriously he was taken as a young leader. Is relative inexperience a barrier to making change? How significant is it that at events like this, young leaders gather en masse with support and guidance from mentors and champions from all generations?
Completely significant. I mean, that's really inspiring. But I think that the first word that I will use is it's healing for you, because you think that you're not alone. I mean, we are 2,000 people here, but if you spread everyone to the country, to the city, maybe there's one per country or one per city. And when you are working as a young person, changing a specific reality, and everyone and the context questioning you, like, you're crazy, why are you doing this? If anybody cares about that, and we won't change the world, how powerful is this if anyone else is doing? And we are ideological rebels because we always continue, but I'm sure that we have to recognize that sometimes you really want to give up. It's like, it's really easy easier to live in the indifference, right? It's like sometimes I really envy that people that it's just like living the life and they don't have responsibility to change something that it's really bad and it's happening in front of their eyes. Because sometimes we take a lot of weight that maybe it's not our responsibility, but finally it's happening in our context. As we learn from other peace process, I think we can learn from other realities and from other generations. And it doesn't matter that it's not about the counselors, because I think we don't need a completely new generation. Like, what's the expression in English? In Spanish we say relevo generacional.
I don't know, intergenerational?
In Spanish we have an expression that if you understand it, it's more the importance to replace, right? Like generational replace, we would say.
So, yeah.
But I think the most...
succession and you...
succession, yeah. The most important thing for me is not that. It's the capacity of have intergenerational dialogues, because we really need experience. We really need to learn from the other goals and fails too. I think those two things are really powerful. And the third thing that I really feel here, it's how we are having this conversation between social entrepreneurs that want to change a lot of reality and a lot of corporate leaders, young leaders that are in big companies, that we are always just judging for the reality that they are creating, but they are finally moving in a market and in a system that all we move to. So I think that's powerful, because this time we are not seeing like different paths or ways to do it. Like, we can be a better society and have prosperity and create more value for everyone if we have this conversation. I mean, no, the companies for one side and the NGOs for another, we are really mixing that. And I really love that, because I think changing the system, it's too... it's like a way to express a lot of too much rebel, right? The people want to change everything, but finally you are paying for everything. I don't know. You want to have some trips, some commodities, right? But if we change as a society, our consumerism, our acts of what are we buying, I think we are paying for the world we want to live in. And when you have more conscience, you are creating a better world with your simple act of going to the street each day and pay or buy for something. If you understand the power of that, what I am doing, that's a real way to change the system. Like being a good person and believing in the power of small habits, you really change the mass.
The summit is big in scale and takes a lot of resource to put on. Corporate sponsors and partners are very visible, from Audi to Pepsi, IKEA to Deloitte. Global brands jostle to put forward their own versions of systems leadership. Often at events like this, it means the bankrollers and the VIPs go unchallenged. Sponsors buy a free pass to do what they want. So I was delightfully surprised by Bob Geldof's clear, overt, targeted swipe in his address to the summit on the first full day.
It makes me puke. I can't stand the bullishness of PepsiCo, who are not a food company. They make a nice drink. I love it, thanks very much. But please spare me the 60 million plastic bottles every year. Spare me the nonsense about it being a food company. Doritos aren't food, they're just a way to channel ultra-high processed foods into your system.
And why I liked that he did this is because it showed that there is no power or piousness that can't be challenged, and that deep pockets can't always buy silence and complicity. So why would brands sponsor an event like this at all? I wondered if it was a risk for big brands. Or does the deep work to create positive change actually, finally, transcend traditional PR? Maybe it's more important than just the puff pieces. We spoke to a couple of the business exhibitors to better understand what kind of leadership they were promoting, and maybe even learning about through being here. First up, pharmaceutical giants AstraZeneca.
So I'm Natalie Ainsworth, Global Community Investment Manager at AstraZeneca. We are here representing the Young Health Programme, which is AstraZeneca's flagship community investment initiative that aims to reduce non-communicable disease risk factors for young people aged 10 to 24 living in underserved communities across the world. And our Young Health programme, through that we sponsor a delegation, and that delegation are from all over the world. That's through our Young Health programme Impact Fellowship, and so that's why we're here today. But we also do have an employee delegation with us as well, and we've been a really proud partner of One Young World for 8 years now. So our 8th year here. It's my 2nd year here, and very excited to be here.
And does it feel any different this year to last year? Do you think there's a bit of a buzz? Maybe more people know of AstraZeneca now, given your vaccine success in recent years, just in terms of, spotting and identifying and maybe want to come and talk to you?
It feels a bit different for me this year, because last year I was actually an employee delegate, and so I was part of the first delegation that AstraZeneca sent as employees. And this year my role is, I've changed roles, and I'm now managing the scholarship delegation that we bring here. So for me it feels very different, because it's kind of that different perspective, and it's really great to see the experience through the eyes of our sponsored delegates. So our Young Health Programme Impact Fellows who have travelled from far and wide. We've got people who have come from Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Nepal, Kyrgyzstan. Our delegate from Kyrgyzstan is the only representative from Kyrgyzstan in the whole summit. So they've travelled far and wide to get here, and they're just having conversations with them about what they're observing for the first time and what they're experiencing for the first time is really incredible. Some of them took part in the flag bearers. They were selected as flag bearers, and the excitement and buzz around that, and it's just been really wonderful. Yesterday we had a pre-summit workshop where we got our delegation as a whole together, so the employees and the fellowship delegates, and getting them to talk to each other and hear each other's stories and learn from each other was just so lovely to see. So from my perspective, I'm feeding off their energy and seeing that. So I'm excited to hear from them today about how all of the speaker sessions are going and what they're experiencing there. We've had some really great feedback already, and it's only 11 a.m. on the first day, so there's been tears already. They've come up to me and told me that they've been crying in the sessions, for good reasons, really moved by the content. So yeah, it's so lovely.
This is the tricky question. So if you could sum up the power of something like this for the work that you do, how does something like this, how does it elevate, amplify, communicate, that kind of work?
I think at its core, it's just truly inspiring. You hear from people who are overcoming so much adversity to do really great things and turning that into real, pure, positive change. And it's that inspiration, I think, that it becomes a catalyst for people to either decide to do something great or make even greater impact in what they're already doing. And so that's kind of how I would distill it for me in terms of the experience. And with our Young Health programme, that's what we aim to do. We aim to support people who are already making change and help them create even more change.
We also spoke to Geraldine Deschamps, Director of Sustainability and Responsibility, Communications and Public Affairs at Pernod Ricard, who was very clear that their unbranded, unflashy tented area was very deliberate.
Well, I think it sounds, it was very obvious for us. I mean, One Young World is about onboarding, empowering the young adults to change the world. It's about the Sustainable Development Goals. And what we do at Pernod Ricard, and the reason why we're here with Drink More Water, which is alcohol prevention initiative tackling binge drinking among the young adults, it's precisely about actually empowering the young adults to change actually the world and the patterns of consumption towards alcohol, vis-à-vis alcohol.
Geraldine and her colleague Steve, a workshop facilitator from England, were appearing under the auspices of a 3-word slogan: Drink More Water. There was no Havana Club branding, Absolute Vodka, Malibu, Jameson's or Beefeater Gin. In fact, none of the 240 brands that Pernod Ricard own. But they were clear with me that they saw the One Young World delegates as like a tribe of advocates that could take key messages back to their own countries and communities, as well as share some insights on how young people are thinking. It was clear that Pernod Ricard have seen the dial shift on attitudes to alcohol, and as a corporation, They need a new kind of dialogue with their future customers. If 20th century leadership was often synonymous with power, booze and excess, the workshops Pernod Ricard were offering at the summit was deliberately curious about how this is turning out to be different in the 21st century.
Well, the workshop is to be able to get contributions from the delegates, the participants, around actually how they can bring their ideas, make sure things are relevant around prevention, education, so people can drink alcohol but drink it responsibly. So the workshop is very interactive and where people will be looking at the facts and the trends, setting the scene, and then also looking at the areas that need attention, and then coming up with like big bright ideas and forming multiple ideas together to create super propositions, and those propositions and to be able to pitch those into things that can well become active campaigns globally with Pernod.
What's interesting also with this workshop is how we basically use advertising techniques, marketing techniques to actually try to reach all the young adults. Because most of the time, when we talk about prevention initiative, traditional approach, we tend to actually focus on some part of the population of the young adults, but not everyone. So we've Drink More Water, actually another approach, which is really trying to use advertising techniques to reach everyone. So it's very different approach.
Bob Geldof was quite scathing in his speech yesterday about some of the organisations sponsoring here, maybe having double standards or giving with one hand, but then also having some questionable motives with others. Do you ever get any pushback that, obviously you sell a lot of alcohol, but also your message here is don't drink too much, but clearly you've done the thinking around that,
Yes, of course. I think I understand the point that it can sound counterintuitive actually to be an alcohol company, but at the same time to come up with a program trying to tackle binge drinking among the young adults. To me, it makes perfect sense. It's fully aligned actually. When you are a company as Pernod Ricard, you don't want actually to have your consumers getting wasted or getting addicted to the product. You want them to enjoy the product and to be able actually to stay in the moderation and to fully embrace the responsible drinking. Plus, if I may comment on this project, this initiative specifically, as you can see, there is no branding. So what I mean is the way we do it with Drink More Water is that you cannot see any alcoholic brands behind. So it's purely actually Drink More Water initiative. So that's a B2C. So we don't talk to the young adults with any kind of brands. So it's purely Drink More Water talking to the young adults.
Yeah. A key element to Bob Geldof's speech, beyond calling out the sponsors, was his impatience about food poverty and his irritation that he has to speak so much, regularly, to summits like One Young World, about the simplicity of feeding the world. Bob, of course, has a big Christmas song that he sees as his gift to the world, particularly the money it makes each year for the Band-Aid charity. But his fury and disbelief is that 40 years after African famines became global news stories, people are still starving to death. And it is not because there isn't enough food in the world. I wanted to know whether this cut through to audiences outside of the West. What impact does Bob Geldof, or more importantly the One Young World movement as a whole, have on somewhere like Thailand?
Well, hi guys, my name is Pawat from CP Group Thailand, and I'm in the fertilizer business, so feeding the world, and the plenary challenge that I'm passionate about, especially for this year, and it directly ties into my line of work, is food crisis, the global food crisis. We might not have that in Thailand, but we do have a malnutrition problem that isn't addressed sometimes, and I think there's 8 billion people in the world. A lot of people are, hundreds of millions of people, if not more, are malnourished, undernourished, and they're starving. And it's our duty to provide clean, safe food that's accessible to all, that's affordable, because it's a fundamental human right. And I love that one of our guest speakers who opened it for the food crisis plenary challenge said, to fight for food is to fight for life. And that's a fight that we're all in together. So thank you for joining this and for sharing wonderful ideas. I learned from a lot of my colleagues and friends from Latin America, from Europe, from Africa, about best practices for food and the innovations they have, such as cooling technology developed in Colombia from, I think she's called Isabel, and she's on the plenary challenge for climate change as well. And that's a wonderful technology, and I hope that we can take best practices from around the world, apply them elsewhere, and vice versa. So we need to share the success, the challenges, and we're in this fight together. Thank you.
Did you watch the food crisis plenary yesterday? Did you?
Yes, I did.
What were your takeaways from that?
The opening was Sir Bob Geldof. It's a punch to the stomach. I think you need that kind of energy, you need that kind of mindset to tackle a problem of this magnitude. It's tough for young people to digest the troubles that people far away from different lands go to in terms of hunger. If you've never been hungry, if you've always had food, you don't understand what it is to be hungry, to have less than a meal a day. But learning from my colleagues in the workshop and sharing people from other regions, I realized that I'm blessed and I'm lucky to have enough food, but I need to take on responsibility as a young generation to make sure that other people also have enough food.
Hello everyone, my name is Nantawat from Thailand, CP Group. So I'm joining the event this year because I'm interested in mental health.
Coming to pool knowledge about cultural leadership has been a key theme of the event. Dan Tawat, another Thai delegate, was very candid with us about his own mental health challenges following the death of his mum. And he was here, at the One Young World Summit, on a mission to better understand how different cultures around the world were managing conversations about mental health and trauma. For him, many of the traditions in Thailand made it harder for anyone to show leadership in their community when it came to trauma or emotional vulnerability, especially men.
So I'm trying to find some thoughts and comments from people from other areas because, you know, from Asian, we do have a lot of like cultural stuff, spiritual stuff that sometimes could help, but not helping in the same time. So strictly said that there are going to be a strict rules that we have to do to our parents, to our elders and stuff. But, you know, we manage that one. So I'm trying to look for a new perspective from Europeans and Americans and stuff, so that we can know like how do they handle with their like mental health if there is a problem here. So if we got a comments and stuff, so with that we can proceed on to our organization, so that we could help. At least we start in our organization, and then it will spread through each of the employees' families, so that we could help them get into a better mental health life.
Thank you for sharing.
This podcast is brought to you by Always Possible. But who are we?
Always Possible works with ambitious businesses, charities and public services that are thinking about what's next.
From architects to aerospace companies, puppet theatres to primary schools, business networks to big data analysts.
If you're wanting to be brave with some big decisions or to be clearer about what to prioritise, then an award-winning workshop from the Always Possible team is a brilliant starting point.
We care about just one thing: building ideas that work.
For creative, intuitive and practical expertise, consider Always Possible as your strategic partner. Find out more about how we could power up your mission. Visit alwayspossible.co.uk.
alwayspossible.co.uk.
Themes of leadership and health go hand in hand at the One Young World Summit, as we've already heard from delegates and corporate sponsors. And there is a recognition that politics, economics and humanitarianism are not as healthy as they could or should be right now. We spoke to the first-time summit attendee, Steffi Melina Cabre. She's now been appointed a One Young World ambassador, alongside her day job working for the UN World Food Programme, and as founder of her own business, My Red Willy. Her work in Burkina Faso is to lead by example when it comes to women's health.
So tell me about your social enterprise.
Okay, my social enterprise, My Red Lily, is, well, I will not say it's a business because like the name says it's a social enterprise. It's a for-profit that use all the benefits to finance everything related to social activities. Mm-hmm. So we train girls into making do-it-yourself menstrual pads from local materials available in all the markets in Burkina Faso. And we have set production units. So those women we have trained, our trainees made pads, and we resell those pads on the broader market, and we use the benefit from reselling those pads to train more girls and keep the circle going.
Amazing. So what's the status quo around reproductive and menstrual health in Burkina Faso? If you were a 13-year-old girl, what kind of support would you normally expect to get? What kind of access would you have to that?
Yeah.
And what problem are you trying to solve?
So I'll go based on my experience. Like when I experienced menstruation, it was a shock for me because I did not learn about it in school. So I was shocked. I thought I had a health problem. So, and when I ran to my parents to try to understand what was going on, the first reaction I had is like, now you are a woman, you have to stay away from boys. If you go near boys, you will be in trouble. That's the only thing I got. So for me, menstruation was a burden. And in school, I was always worried about staining my clothes and the reaction people had. Like when you go to the teacher, you ask for permission to go out. He asked why, and in front of all the students, you have to say why. If you don't say why, you can't go out. So if you want to go for menstruation, like problems and everything, it's really difficult to say to the teacher, like, I have my menstruation, I need to go to the restroom. And all those were like stigma around menstruation, that he has to be eaten, you don't have to talk about it, and everything was like so heavy on me growing up as a child. So I try to make sure that all the schools in Burkina are menstruation friendly, and that menstruation is no longer a reason why girls miss school. Because for most of the girls, the 4-5 days of menstruation, they prefer staying home. They don't want to go to school because they don't feel comfortable. They don't have separate toilets. They don't have all the facilities needed for them to care for themselves. So my role is to make sure that all the schools are menstruation friendly, that girls had all the protection they should have to go to school, and that they would never miss school for those reasons.
Fantastic. What Steffi is doing in Burkina Faso is in every sense extraordinary. And what has struck me is how many young African women there are at the One Young World Summit who have simply rolled their sleeves up and said, you know, this isn't good enough. But not fueled by anger and protest. They've instead found ways to campaign and confront the status quo through well-designed projects and businesses. Another example is Madina Abakar. I was drawn to her across the exhibition hall because of her striking green suit and coat. She liked being in Belfast, she said, rather than humid Mozambique for a few days, because she could wear all of her amazing coats. But Madina's compelling story is, of course, far more impactful than her wardrobe.
Hi everyone, my name is Madina Abakar. I'm coming from Mozambique, Africa. So I'm very happy. This is my first time that I'm here. And my expectation is actually to get to know all amazing young leaders across the globe.
It turned out that Madina works in finance, is a hugely influential blogger, has an MBA, and has used her skills and knowledge to set up a foundation to support young women into meaningful professional careers.
As black young women, it's difficult to find a proper job because we live in a world that doesn't even believe that women can actually have an impact and be able to do their jobs as men. So my role is to actually make them feel prepared and make them have the right tools to actually be able to compete in this very huge market. So I think our job is to actually let them know that they are capable and it's possible to do whatever they want to do and to be whatever they want to be.
And what is it in you that said, I need to do this, I'm going to step up, I'm going to make a difference?
Because I had a family that helped me to actually shape myself to the person that I am today. I know I'm blessed to have a family that helped with me. So I grow up seeing a friend of mine that don't actually have this background that I have. So I think for a Black African woman is not a way of living. We need to make them understand that they are able to build the life that they want. So it's something that I love. I really enjoy seeing people growing and being able to do whatever they want to do. They just need to be here, they just need to have the right tools, and they just need to believe that they can do it.
Closer to home, we met a young woman called Lucy who has similar ideas about the role of women in finance in the UK, and how much better things might be if the opportunity gap was narrowed.
Hi, my name is Lucy Ellis-Keeler. I'm representing the UK. I'm here as part of a social impact firm called Women in Banking and Finance. So we've delivered a workshop on the future of work yesterday, which went really well. So I feel really pleased today. So I think the value of One Young World is really understanding like a diverse range of perspectives. I think the strength of One Young World is like the globality of it. Like, you know, we get to meet and speak with so many different individuals from all around the world. So during our workshop yesterday, we got to meet with women from like the Cayman Islands, women from South Africa, women from all these different countries, and hear about their experience as a woman in financial services. And although, you know, we're based all around the world, there's so much that actually unites us and our common experiences. And it was just such an amazing, unique opportunity just to get to meet with like all these different women and share stories and share like different challenges, I guess, and address those solutions collectively. And I think that unification is really the strength of One Young World.
Do you think gatherings like this, harnessing that diversity, that plurality, is tangibly accelerating social impact?
Yeah. So even from the session yesterday, I mean, we were connecting with people and they were saying, how can we deliver these workshops to people in our organisations? You know, we're a UK-based organisation, and the opportunity to kind of get to meet and like share those learnings with other organisations is just phenomenal. So.
In the next and final special episode from the One Young World Summit, we will be exploring sustainability and the ever-expanding and urgent conversation about climate science, and how young entrepreneurs around the world are showing more common sense and innovation than pretty much anyone else. But we'll first end this episode on leadership with a difficult story, but one that exemplifies where leadership can come from, and how the most unfathomable trauma can, somehow, become a catalyst to tackle social injustice head-on. Angela Brucci is an Albanian woman who was trafficked as a child. She understands the impact of modern slavery on individuals and families like no one else I've ever heard speak. And her mission right now is to be a life raft to others who've been similarly exploited. And it is energizing.
My family and I fled Albania after the civil war in '98. We left because it was unsafe. We paid smugglers and were crammed into a van to be transported to a safer country. I remember a man terrorizing a mother. Her 9-month-old baby would not stop crying. He told her to shut up her baby's mouth or he would kill them both. And I was 4. I willed myself invisible. I held my breath in fear that, if he heard me, he would kill me too. They then threw us out of the van, in the middle of the mountains of the Albanian border. They took everything we had, our little money, documentation, our hope. We walked for 3 days, fearing that each step would be our last. The police would shoot or catch trespassers. There were bears and wild animals too. We took a boat to an island, but we lacked documentation, money, the local language. When we arrived, we were illegals and easily exploitable. And there, my parents became trapped in modern slavery. We lived in a basement room with no windows, From 5 a.m. to midnight, I would be left alone as my parents worked upstairs in the hotel. I stopped speaking. I was traumatized, shocked, silenced. Human trafficking generates $150 billion a year. This causes lifetime harm to millions of victims. With over 40% of refugees worldwide being children, the lifetime damage is huge. My family eventually escaped that hotel, but as I grew up, I struggled with the emotional damage of living there and fleeing my country. I struggled to make sense of my past and reintegrate with my peers. And I saw how other exhausted survivors struggled too. Their past experiences had robbed them of their energy and dreams. I saw their inability to articulate their wants and needs. And I saw organizations failing to find survivors sustainable employment, with many placed in low-skilled, ill-suited jobs. And I felt inspired to help. In 2016, I found it empowerful to support survivors of human trafficking in Albania reclaim, define, and fulfill their own potential. Empowerful works on self-esteem, assertiveness, and setting boundaries. We challenge the victim narrative, reclaim the individual, re-establish dreams, and then look to economically empower. We do this through training sessions and the provision of sustainable employment opportunities. Since 2021, we have delivered 4 8-week courses and supported 40 survivors.
Thank you so much for listening to the second Special Possibility Club episode from the One Young World Summit. You'll find the previous special all about peace building, and the next one coming soon all about sustainability. You'll find them in your usual podcast platform of choice. And if you enjoyed it, please let us know. Write a review, share it with friends. And thanks so much to all of the contributors and interviewees in this episode, to the One Young World organisation, and to Georgie and Isabella at Seven Hills for all of their support. I've been Richard Freeman for Always Possible, and this episode has been produced and edited by Chris Thorpe-Tracey for Lo-Fi Arts.
alwayspossible.co.uk.
Lo-Fi Arts.